Well, it's 9 minutes, just coming up to 9 minutes past 3 now here on Beyond Radio. You're listening to Beyond Radio Sport. It's me, James Main, and Ian Sargentson on till 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm loving today's show. I'm really enjoying it, and the listeners and the interaction. So yeah, thank you very much.
And what we're going to be talking about, and are we going to have a bit more of a focus on referees?
Yeah, so I want to talk about referees, and I'm not just going to hammer referees. I want to give a balanced viewpoint on referees. And if there's any referees, any amateur referees or professional referees out there, then get in touch. I guess my main thing is for this is just some things that have come up in refereeing lately, and I guess it's one of them things that's been long-standing for me. And each week, football fans up and down the country will have opinions on referees, and probably other sports too, on decisions referees have made. And Halton United, who, were keen followers of...
Halton Rangers, sorry.
You were at the game yesterday against Keighley United, and that was an issue. There was an issue there with the referee, which you can talk about in a minute. But again, from my experience from watching, top-level football all over the world and watching and playing at various levels of football, there's always something about the referees. There's always something to be said about the referees. There's referees that are better than others, but all make mistakes. So if you are a referee and you want to defend referees and come on and say, I'm not going to hammer referees, I'm just going to give an opinion and ask some questions based on them and what they do.
And as we've proved just then, we can work the phone line for once.
Yeah, but before that, we're going to have a song, and then if you've got any opinions, they can get in touch after us. This song is for Alexa, who's listening, I think, in Manchester. This is one of my favourite songs of all time. This is Sit Down by James.
We are 103.5 Beyond Radio.
Day Wilson by Bad Not Good here on Beyond Radio. Before that we had Sit Down by James. It is 18 minutes past 3 on this Sunday afternoon. You're listening to Beyond Radio Sport with me, James Main, and Ian Sargentson. Now, just dipping into golf for a moment. Paul has tweeted us about half an hour ago. Sorry that we haven't touched upon it a bit earlier. But he says, is golf an elite sport to take part in? I think not anymore. # golf for everyone. Your thoughts, Ian?
Is golf an elite sport? To take part in? No, I don't know. I think it never used to be, because it was expensive to do and you have to put in loads of hours. But I think more people are playing golf now. I think I gave up golf because I was just so bad at it. I went from the sublime to the ridiculous easy. But I think he's got a good point.
I think with it, you've got to think about the number of clubs that they have to, buy for a golfer.
And green fees and whatever.
But it depends about availability. They might be able to borrow them from their club now or something like that. But I think it still is a bit more difficult to play. It's, you get less people just because other things like even running, you can go down to a local park, run, or football, you can go to, and you can just turn it. If you don't like it, you can give it up. But I don't know how you can get involved with golf without sticking at it. You buy a lot of clubs. So I don't know. What do people think? You're thinking of the question, is it like you could say you're taking part in it by going to watch it? And what I'm trying to look at now is ticket prices for golf. So for Open Championship, cheapest tickets from £29.50 onwards, up from there. Now, I hope I don't buy a ticket for this by accident. For football, for instance, I think in a way, at the higher level, it is becoming a bit of an elite sport for fans. And yes, people can watch it on TV, but if you want to go, you have to pay a lot.
I think football, and people have been saying it for years, and I think it's true that your football fans generally are customers rather than fans nowadays.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's right at all. But anyway, thanks for getting in touch there, Paul. It was good to see you yesterday at the Halton Rangers game, not Halton United.
I was reading a sentence with two teams in it, and I just tried to read too quickly because we were coming to a break, and I got it all out. It's all right, I apologise. Stop trying to cause trouble.
They said that you'd be out of the Ultras.
Yeah, but I'm back in. Don't you worry about that.
That must be the shortest time someone's ever been out of the Halton Rangers Ultras. But yeah, get to a game.
Yeah, and you were calling the players all the wrong names last week when I was on the driving home.
Was I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ben Baxter.
You were calling Ben Baxter, isn't it?
That's what it's called. Ben Baxter, isn't it? Is it Ben Baker? I don't know. I just call him Ben Baxter.
Okay.
But they might tell us different.
They don't need to. I listened. Okay, anyway, moving on.
Referees and Halton Rangers could come into question with this.
Yeah, they could do, so you can tell us your experience about it. But my issue with referees, and we've had a few people getting in touch already. Some people I know that are amateur referees, some people I know that have done a lot of refereeing. And my issue with referees is twofold at the moment. So in professional things, in a professional game, so I go and watch a lot of football over the years, and there's always something that a referee will do. I know that people tell me that they don't do it intentionally. I don't know if that's true because I'm not in the mind of every referee. They will be influenced by different players and different clubs that they go with, I imagine, but I'm not going to call into question anyone's integrity. But Jose Mourinho, and I know I'm a United fan, so it might come across as a bit biased, has been charged by the FA for saying about Anthony Taylor that because he was from Altrincham and he was put in charge of a Manchester United versus Liverpool game, that it was adding extra pressure to him. He's been charged because of that. All he did was state with facts, because as soon as the media had got hold of it, they went with it, saying he's from Greater Manchester and he's taken charge of a United-Liverpool game. So there was extra pressure put on him. So he's been charged for stating a fact. He didn't have an opinion on it. He just said, I think there's extra pressure on him because of this, when it was he didn't have to make, so he didn't like people telling him. But going on to Clattenburg yesterday, so there was a thing, this Clattenburg used to be a United fan, United fans made a mockery of it, got a banner for him and different things. But against City in the league game a few weeks ago, he had a dodgy game, you know what I mean? He should have sent their keeper off for different things, and Mourinho criticised him. And then yesterday, Clattenburg, and sometimes you get penalties that could be given this and I know that referees get to see it once, right? So the split decision, but there was like 5 or 6, 7 50-50 decisions yesterday, and he gave every one of them against United. Now, and a lot of averages tells me that he can't everyone can't be wrong. Ander Herrera slipped over and got a second booking for slipping into someone. Now, surely common sense would tell you that you go, he just slipped there. It wasn't a foul. It wasn't intentional. He slipped and he caught the lad, and different things. And there were so many things. But my issue really is that I think referees should be called into account. Even just to face the camera and say that I did this. Because if a footballer does his job bad, they get criticised, they get slaughtered. There's all of these things, everyone's opinion. If referees do and you question it, you're just bitter, you're just different. Now, the referee shouldn't have been a factor in yesterday's game, as I said, but he should come out and say, this is why I give this. I saw it from the angle I saw it, I did this. But there's nothing, you're not allowed, managers aren't allowed to talk about referees because it might upset the referees. Referees have a huge influence on the game. Why shouldn't a manager be able to say, I think he did a poor job today? Why shouldn't you?
But don't, if a manager goes on record and publicly criticises his whole team and, that's not seen, you're allowed to do it, you don't get charged for it, but, that's not seen as acceptable by most people. So why should criticising a referee's performance be any different if it's not acceptable to publicly criticise your own players? But people do
criticise players. We criticise players for diving, we criticise players for doing this.
I mean managers, not people.
Well, managers will criticise players. Players of the team, they won't often criticise their own players because, do you know what I mean, they've got to work with these people every day, but sometimes will. But why can't we say, fans do it up and down the country, the referee got this wrong, and I know he didn't do it on purpose, but why can't a manager say, I think that referee got that wrong, without fear of being banned from the stadium or sent to the stands or getting fined X amount of money? It's about opinions. Now, we don't want to put referees off, but you should be able to say he got that wrong. If a player does a job wrong, if I do my job wrong, I expect someone to say, look, Ian, you're not doing that. If on this show we do something wrong, I expect someone to say, well, you're not doing that right. That link was rubbish. Your singing was dreadful. Whatever it is. But is it just, what are we protecting referees from? And I don't think it should be a free-for-all, but I think a manager after a game of such emotion should be able to say the referee influenced the game. They got it wrong. They made a decision that was wrong. Now, we can all have opinions on penalties, and I say that, and the referee could just come and say, I saw it once, it looked like a foul, or it didn't look like a foul. But they're protected by the Premier League. And then, so for me...
Do you think they get more stick, though, if they went and did an interview and they continued to say things that people disagree with? Do you think the referees would come in for more stick? They get enough stick as it...
Well, possibly, but then on BT Sport you have, I can't remember what referee, the ex-referee...
Howard Webb.
Howard Webb, they have him on there, and he never says the referee got that wrong. He always goes, I can see what's the point of having him on? Just to protect referees. And I'm sorry, but referees do not get 100% of the decisions right in every game. So if they get decisions wrong, you should be able to say they got that wrong.
But if you think about it, referees, what they do on the pitch is a performance. A player's thing is a performance. So, we're allowed to speak openly about it. And yes, I do agree that managers should be able to say, well, the referee got this wrong. But where they need to draw the line is if they'll end up launching personal attacks.
If it gets personal or you're questioning someone's integrity, you should not be able to do that. But you should be able to say, because each manager and each player is going to have their performance spread all over the papers, analysed and this, that and the other. The referee should be able to say, the ref got that wrong. He had a poor game. And say it's not intentional. I think it's making the situation worse by the fact that we're not allowed to do it, because people get so frustrated that they do things. And I just think sometimes we need to acknowledge that they got it wrong, and then talk to us about what happened at the grassroots level yesterday when you were watching the Halton game.
Right, well, this kind of relates to abuse, but to be honest, from what I saw, there wasn't much of it. So this referee, because I went to see the first half of Halton Rangers against Caton United yesterday, and the lads that were on the show last week did describe it as a rivalry. I watched they said it was a friendly rivalry, didn't they? I looked at it and I was like, this isn't a friendly rivalry. There was things left, right and centre. A Halton player got sent off within 10 minutes, and the referee obviously sent him off. I didn't see that because I did get there about 10-15 minutes into the game. But the thing I have an issue with was at half time, the referee blew his whistle and he did a runner. I'd never seen anything like that.
Did he run or did he just walk off?
He ran. And, the ref just blew his whistle, and then you just see him in the distance, just running off, took his top off, and, I heard some of the Halton players say, look, he's not coming back. And Ben, who was on the show last week, what a character he was. He shouted, because someone said, oh, that referee's not coming back. He went, good, because he was rubbish. And I found that funny, but in a way, because the referee went, they couldn't carry on that game. That game was abandoned at half-time because the ref escaped. And he's saying that he was getting too much abuse. He wasn't getting that much. It was, a similar level to what they'd normally get. I'd say if not less. But I guess
this is a bit on the flip side. It's how much should they be able to get? Now, some people say you shouldn't be able to abuse the ref at all, and it is a culture that's very different to rugby, as we've talked about earlier. And I've played in games where it is like that, where you just honour the ref all the time. But sometimes, I think it's just something called displacement. So sometimes you're angry and frustrated with the situation, so you need somebody to blame. So you'll shout at your own teammates, you'll blame this, that and the other, and you will ultimately blame the referee because you've got an emotional investment in it. Sometimes when they do things, you take it personally. Now, I know that the majority of refs that have ref my games haven't intentionally gone out their way to wind me up or give decisions against me, and I think that's the same in professional sports.
I've seen it once in cricket, at an amateur level, where they did go against, they did it to go against you, but that's banging out of order.
Yeah, but generally that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't know, it's when it becomes personal. So you're going to get two sets of players that see decisions two opposite ways. So they're going to moan about every decision that's given against them. The thing that I would do is, if there is too much moaning, just book them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we're supposed to book them for dissent. Just book them and then stop them. The same as when in professional football. This really winds me up. There's a couple more things about referees, and one of them is in favour of referees and one's against. So yesterday there was a bad tackle in the first minute of the game at Old Trafford by the left back on Jesse Lingard. Totally cleaned him out. And the ref didn't book him. It was a bookable offence, but he didn't book him because it was the first minute. And I'm sick of this nonsense about, it's the first minute of the game. You shouldn't let him off. It doesn't matter what minute it is, whether it's the first minute or the last minute, because you can make excuses all the way through. It's the last minute of the game, they're tired.
Or in the box, say, Morecambe player had his shirt pulled in the box yesterday. They didn't give a penalty, but had that been out of the box?
So it's one of them things, it's just ridiculous. Just stick to the rules. And the second one is, if I'm a referee and I'm asking someone to come and speak to me, to have a chat with me, and they're walking away from me, I book them straight away. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I can't be dealing with players walking away from referees. It's just a big power struggle. Just book them. They won't do it again. So there's lots of things about referees, but I don't know. It's how much is abuse is too much. But at the same time, you've got to realise that that's what's going to happen. People have an opinion. It's a heightened state of emotion. It's like working in a butcher's and complaining there's too much meat around. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get abuse. Now, should you expect that? I guess that's a question for our callers, and I know that there's been some texts in already saying that they shouldn't. And if you are an amateur referee out there, I know that John's been in touch saying if you'd like an insight into the mind of referees, then he would be happy to help us with that. If you can get in touch, John, let us know what goes on in the mind of a referee in that situation where you're getting abused from both sides. And anything that we've just talked about, get in touch, give us your opinion, because I just think that referees shouldn't be above criticism.
Absolutely. Now let's go into some more music. We have talked a bit there. So let's have some more music. Let's have Stuck in a... Before I introduce the song, let's just reiterate the contact details. If you want to go on about a myth in sport, but you want to challenge, or you've got a song request, or you want your local side to be publicised, the show's been based around debate a lot today, but let's just reiterate the text details. It's 07399 085508. That's 07399 085508. Our email address is studio@beyondradio.co.uk. Call in on 01524 888 450. Our Twitter is @sport_beyond. Let's have Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of by U2.
3.5 Beyond Radio. 103.5 Beyond Radio.
I'm a use-by date.
Junior Jack featuring Sheena here on Beyond Radio. Before that, we had Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of by U2. It is 17 minutes to 4 on this Sunday afternoon, listening to Beyond Radio Sport. We're on till 4 o'clock today. Let's just give you an outline of the shows we've got for the rest of the day before we carry on with our debate. So Gordon Smith is on at 4 o'clock with the International Music Escape. Duncan is on Lazy Sunday Afternoon from 5. We've got a country music show by Paul Whitehouse at 6. Tea with Ola at 7. Beyond the Wall of Sleep by Reza Mills at 8. Bit of an early bedtime, that. And the Rock Doc, Rachel McKenna, finishes your evening at 9 o'clock. So they've got a high standard. We've set a standard today, haven't we?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the show today. I've enjoyed the interaction with people. I hope this carries on in the coming weeks. I really like it. Otherwise, it's just me and you sat in a room giving our opinions. And mine are good. Yours are sometimes a bit dodgy. You know what I mean? So. But I'm just kidding, James. So I just want to get on back on what we're talking about. So Alan has been in touch. Alan, a regular listener. He's made a few points, some of which I agree with, some not so much. He says, referees do it for the love of the game. Without them, there would be no game. So they should be protected. Any mistakes they make are honest ones. I've had a privilege of speaking to John Moss and Howard Webb in recent years, and those guys are paid a pittance compared to some footballers who just sit on the bench and accept their millions. At a local level, the abuse that young officials get from parents, etc., is out of order. A good move that the local league have brought in to counteract that in recent years has seen parents behind a rope some distance from the pitch. So, picking up a few points there, referees do it for the love of the game. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I don't know enough referees. I'm sure some of them do. I think, from my understanding, I would think the majority of referees are just frustrated footballers that couldn't, make it and then decided to referee.
I think it takes a lot of courage to be a referee.
Absolutely, no question. But none of my friends at school wanted to be referees.
I don't think they would do it if they didn't love football.
No, of course they love football, but I don't think anybody goes into it. Is any people that your age that go, I really want to be a top level referee? Everyone wanted to be footballers at my school. Nobody thought I want to be a referee. I think it was just people that realised and thought I want to do something in the game, so I'll be a referee. There was one lad in my school who was a referee. He's from our town. He's a referee in the Premier League now. No, he's a linesman.
And you're saying you don't think that there's anyone my age that...
I'm not saying I don't think there is. I said I don't think there's many.
Well, I do know one guy that does want to be a top-level referee, and he's called Josh. He's currently in university in Dundee, actually, but he's done a good job. Recently, my friend Joseph is hoping to get into it. I'm not sure about top-level, but he has done a referee's course recently. Got a friend James as well. So there are those people around. I haven't really spoken to them about the level of abuse that they get and how they can cope with it. But as we say, in the local leagues, you do have some younger referees, and I think, the referees my age, for certain, should be given some protection. Absolutely,
totally agree with that, particularly from parents. So I've seen parents get more frustrated than players on the pitch. They just get really angry, and it is good that they've had them behind a rope. I've seen parents removed before. But this is one of my questions that I have, right, James? And see if you can answer. See if any of our listeners can answer this. And I'm not questioning integrity of referees, but I believe that referees are human, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're a referee, James, right? And every time you referee a game which I'm playing in, all I do is moan at you from start to finish. Call your names, give you a hard time, disrespect you, just be, and really wind you up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then, do you think that is going to affect your opinion of me during the game? Or do you think you will be able to be so mechanical that you can just be impartial every time you referee me? Or do you think that referees have preferred players than others? Now, I'm not saying that they have favourites or anything, but you see some referees get on with other people better than others, and some people they don't. They're quick to book certain players. Now, certain players don't help themselves, but I just think as a ref that it must affect you. I think that it depends in a way what they're like off the pitch. Exactly, it depends we're all human and we're all be different. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach to referees. If you on the pitch, some people can be absolutely horrible, and if I'm honest, with Ben, who was on the show last week, he was very nice on the show. I thought it was hilarious, but on the pitch I thought it was a bit out of order. And so, with a referee, do they have a relationship with the players off the pitch? It's questionable. Yeah, but we've all played in games, and I've played with lads, some of the nicest lads I've ever played with. As soon as they step on the pitch, they change. Do you know what I mean? And then and they're on at the ref, they're on at the opposition, they're niggling, shouting at their own teammates, and I'm all for that. But what I think is that referees, there'll be different referees, they'll have different standards, they'll have different opinions, they'll have different ways of working, they'll have different personalities. Of course. But you will be affected by what goes on, and you will be affected by that. So I'm not here to bash referees, they're all different. But what I do think is they have a huge bearing on the game, the professional game more so. They have a huge bearing on it, a huge influence. Mm-hmm. And secondly, some referees, I think, try and make it about them. I think some of them are frustrated players that just want to be in amongst it. You see them calling and laughing and joking with the players and calling them by their first names. And I personally think Clattenburg is one of them. I think he makes the game about him too much. Now, it's true, as a football fan, I can't really tell you that many referees that I like. I used to like Pierluigi Collina. I thought he was a top referee. But there's not many in the Premier League now that I really rate. And that's probably because when they give decisions against my team, you remember it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think there's that many bad referees. I think the majority of time, they get some wrong, get some right. You just hope they get more right than wrong. Of course. But I think that things are going to affect them. Sorry, and I will finish in a minute, just carrying on from what Alan said. different. So I'm sure referees are a lot of nice people. And I know some referees. I always got on with referees when I was playing, just because I respect the job they do, and I do respect referees. And I say I'm not here bashing them. They do a very difficult job. But I do think that sometimes they need to be regulated. Who is assessing their performances?
Well, there's fellow referees, but you get a referee's assessor every game.
You do, but these are people that I don't know if they have a relationship with them. I don't know if they know them. I don't know if you're not going to want to slate somebody, are you? So I don't know how that works better. But some of them, I know they used to get moved down divisions and different things. And I don't know. You don't want to see people just getting vilified. I don't want that. But I just want people to be able to have an opinion on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, I do think it is unfair on managers that they are charged for what they've said about a referee, and they've got to be very careful.
Yeah, especially when they're interviewed straight after a game, and they've just lost a game.
They'll still be high in emotion, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and this is a thing. And then the FA, in all their wisdom, maybe we'll have a show sometime on the FA, because I've more to say on them, or the Premier League, whoever it is, will say, you can't criticise him, he'll be charged with misconduct, because that's how they all speak.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see here how many referees there actually are in England. I'm not sure I can find that now, but here.
I used to like Uriah Rennie.
In 2009, there may be more or less now, but according to the Daily Telegraph, there are more than 50,000 qualified referees in England, and towards the end of the noughties, as many as 7,000 referees gave up refereeing. So maybe some of them are, of course they're influenced by what people say to them.
Of course. I mean, I'm not. Let's get this right. For all the stick I've given them, they get hammered every weekend. And then there's a line, as we've said, that it shouldn't go beyond that. You should be able to question the referee's decision, but as soon as it becomes personal, or you use foul and abusive language, and this, that, and the other, then it should be. Yeah, there's a line, absolutely. But I think. I don't know, but sometimes it's like the referee's made a decision, he's not going to change his mind. It's futile arguing on the pitch at some point, but you're full of emotion and different. But afterwards, I think their performance should be able to be analysed freely.
Well, I suppose off the pitch, they will look back at it and analyse their performance and say, well, I got that wrong. If they're honest.
There's no repercussions for them, is there, that I'm aware of? Clattenburg, as I say, I think he did a dreadful job yesterday, and he should be called to account, but none of them will come out and criticise him, and next week he'll be reffing again.
This might be because of the shortage of referees.
It might be, but let me know, I'll do it.
It's a tough job.
I don't TT United.
I might actually be refereeing a game, between a bunch of friends on Friday, so that should be fun. But yeah, we are coming towards the end of the show now. We have got 2 songs to finish. Just want to say thanks to everyone that has got in touch today. The level of debate has been excellent, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I mean, I know we've stayed on football largely, but that's because something me and James are passionate about, have opinions on that. And I've loved people getting in touch. I hope it continues. You're not here next week, are you, James?
No, I'm not. Other commitments. Sporting, Morecambe versus Coventry. Can't miss it.
All right, well, I'll be flying solo next week.
You're not going to have someone else on?
Well, we'll see, but if not, I'll be doing it on my own while James is watching Coventry.
Morecambe
versus Coventry.
Watching Coventry win, most likely. But yeah, particular thanks to Joseph for being the first ever caller on the show. It was great to have you on. And hopefully we'll have more callers in the future.
Yeah, and if during this week you want to get in touch and some stuff you want to hear us talk about on the show, or me talk about on the show next week, then make sure you tweet us, let us know during the week, or if they're at Sport_Beyond, or me individually at Sargy7, and I'll be delighted to put that on the list for next week.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Ian will be back next week. I will see you in 2 weeks.
See ya.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Now let's have Hold On, We're Going Home by Drake, and to finish the show, we've got Ignition by R. Kelly.
That's for Lexi.